broadcast network, AFTERBUZZ TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your number one source for after-show entertainment. AFTERBUZZ TV, the destination for TV superfans. Producing aftershows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows, interviewing celebrities and showrunners, and bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
Yeah.
That's right, we're coming into the 80s. Very first episode. Look at this light. Absolutely. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Welcome to the very first episode of the official Magicians After Show right here on AfterBuzz TV. Let's get, we got some Steve Miller Band going. We can keep going. It's fine. It's fine. For the entirety of season 1, we'll be right here Monday nights recapping Syfy's The Magicians for you. And if you like what you hear and if you like what you're seeing, obviously we love doing this, but if you like it, go to Twitter, go to Instagram, go to all kinds of social media, but even better, go to YouTube, leave a comment, give us one of those nifty thumbs up, go to iTunes, rate, subscribe, download, leave a review, all that good stuff. Let us know, and we'll let you know, and it'll be time is a flat circle is what I'm getting at. So
we'll read your comments for sure. So.
Exactly. Every one of them. But be gentle.
Please.
My name is Ty Matthews. You can find me on Twitter, on Instagram, at Ty Matthews PMA. I've got a very, very lovely, talented panel. I can't even. Words. I've got a lovely and talented panel of co-hosts. Guys, tell them who you are.
Hello, my name is Kari Lane. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Kari D Lane.
Hello, I'm Samantha Benitz. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Samantha_Benitz.
And hi, I'm Adrian Snow. You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Miss Adrian Snow. It's MSEDRINSNOW.
All right, we got a double episode premiere tonight, y'all.
Woo.
So we got
lots of information.
Lot to get through. A lot to get through. Let's talk about first impressions, though. What did we think of the first 2 episodes?
Very captivating. I mean, they started it off right the way, just grabbing your interest, wondering who these characters are, who's Quentin, why does he have such a bad attitude, and what is he kind of getting at? You know, you're kind of wondering what it is that is driving him. And you finally find out clearly in the first few minutes that it's his magical abilities after he goes and takes this magical aptitude test. So I think it was off to a pretty interesting start, especially with the relationship with Julia as well.
Sure.
What do you guys think?
Oh yeah, no, I thought it was super interesting, very intriguing. I like the visuals, just like the over kind of saturated colors and the different places they went to is very visually stimulating. And then just plot wise was like, ooh, I'm curious. Like you get curious. You're like, I want to see where this goes.
Yeah, definitely. What do you think?
I enjoyed it quite a bit. It felt very like a sci-fi show, which I enjoy. I love sci-fi shows, but on Syfy, not just regular sci-fi shows. But
SYFY Syfy.
Yeah, SYFY. But no, I enjoyed just the kind of seeing them develop. I'm a little curious about Julia and why she's suddenly like didn't seem to care about magic at all, and now she's like, I must be
super into it.
Like addicted to it without ever
because it's a drug. Magic is a drug.
You know?
I know, but she's never
Their
even
tagline.
seen it. Anyways,
right?
But
Dipped your foot, the toe in, you know, she's hooked.
Yeah,
First one's always
I
free.
suppose.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see like how they're going to develop all the characters and where the writing's going to go and everything. So it should be fun.
Sure. And I should preface this up top. We are not familiar with the source material, so we won't be talking about where it strays or where, you know, how it relates to the books.
At this time.
We're talking
At this time, yeah.
I'm saying yet. Because
This is an after show for the show.
Exactly. But I urge you to read the books. They look like super fun.
I want to read it now.
New York Times bestseller, so we
Sure.
know it's a good trilogy.
Oh, yeah.
We're perfectly aware, but we're definitely going to be judging simply on the television show.
Sure.
And we can add in a few comparisons maybe if the fans want to comment below. Let us know your opinions as well.
Yeah. Also, obviously, as this is an after show, this will be spoiler filled. So if you're watching or listening to this and you haven't seen episodes 1 and 2, go check those out. Come right back. We'll still be here because it'll be a podcast, and so you can just download it and listen to it at your leisure.
Yep.
But I had a blast with this. I wasn't sure what to expect. Had a lot of fun. Obviously, a lot of Harry Potter vibes, a lot of Narnia vibes, kind of some X-Men vibes that I was really enjoying. We'll get to that. I'll explain myself. But let's start out with episode 1, Unauthorized Magic. We gotta let's whip through this because this is a lot of exposition, a lot of we meet Quentin Coldwater, find out he's getting ready to take the exam to go to grad school at Yale. Finds out it's not quite what he expected. He finds himself stumbling upon break-bills, and him and also his friend Julia. And it's essentially that was kind of one of the first things that reminded me a little bit of X-Men. It felt a little bit
and Men in Black.
Exactly.
It's a weird exam for something that you don't know what it's for exactly.
That is true.
It's a test that it's how you take it as well.
Sure.
And then if you fail, then your memory's wiped.
Yes, exactly. Wow.
Yeah,
exactly.
The little device.
That's how I get you. That's how I get you. Always wiping memories. Quentin, in the real world, we find him at a mental hospital. He's not quite the most suave guy in social.
He's just a little manic depressive.
Just a little bit.
He's just a regular person who doesn't feel like he fits in.
Yeah.
Plus.
I think
plus more, but
I'm curious to see them touch on that because they're kind of like hinting around it. I feel like it's not just like, oh, I'm getting older in life, it's really hard. It's like, no, like you probably got some serious stuff.
Right.
Oh yeah, no, totally. I think
it
will be interesting to see if they bring it back later because at first, like the basic what they lay out he has, you're kind of like, well, that's what a lot of, not everybody, but a lot of people go through of not feeling like they belong, not feeling like he fits in.
Not accepted.
Because he's not in the right atmosphere of where he's supposed to be.
Right. And that's a lot of what he's dealing with. We meet him, we meet his best friend Julia. They've been friends since childhood. She's
little more than best friends in their past.
Oh,
I picked up on that as well. It seemed like they had a little conversation, and then she mentioned, that she's with James now and kind of not really feeling.
But then they felt maybe they should be just friends.
Yeah, but maybe they'll end up together again.
It seemed like it was just
siblings?
unrequited love. Like he had a crush, and
she
she's
didn't
not
really
feeling
wasn't
it.
feeling
by
it.
the time anything would have happened, she was already with somebody, and
and
also just like
because it is. He
friendship.
says that line. He's like, you didn't notice or you didn't care about this thing till you got with that guy.
Yeah.
So
Right.
Yeah,
And so
true.
that's a lot of what he's dealing with Julie right now. Is he's kind of, it seems like he's sort of got this Peter Pan complex where he doesn't really want to grow up. He doesn't want to let go of this book series Fillory and Further that he kind of gets lost in.
And Fillory and Further has kind of its own Peter Pan illusion that kind of alludes to Peter Pan as well. But
and so he's super into these books. He's reading them one last time before he throws them up on eBay. And so he's kind of dealing with this, with growing up, with putting away childish things, as Shakespeare might say. But eventually Quentin and Julia stumble upon Breakbills University, and it's this. And you touched on kind of the colors that they use, and one of the things that I absolutely fell in love with was kind of the cinematography and these bright, vibrant colors that they use for Breakbills compared to like these drab kind of shades of gray for the real world. Yeah.
Well, it's his line that once you've seen color, you don't want to go back to black and white.
Exactly, yeah. And so.
And how interesting that Julia fails the test initially, which I thought you were wondering when she goes there. Oh, so she also has magical abilities as well, because you weren't able to really pick up on that in the first few seconds, in my opinion.
Right.
But then as soon as she was there, you can kind of see how captivated she was by the whole world, and the fact that she's willing to cut herself and
to remember. That was really creative.
Definitely.
That was smart.
And she can remember, because interesting, if they're using magical spells to kind of shut off your memory, wouldn't you assume that when you return home, even with the scar, you'd be wondering.
Well, it's the pain. It's like they mentioned that too, magic and pain.
Interesting.
I think it's also kind of alluding to dark magic and blood magic. But And if the whole idea is that, because they kind of touch upon that, well, I'm jumping into episode 2, but like multiple worlds and the idea of like there's more to magic than just breakbills. Then obviously there's like the dark side to breakbills as well.
Definitely,
and maybe that's just where
maybe in their own way she did dark magic of like that memory, remembering it.
And so before we even get there, when Quentin's about to take what he thinks is his exam for Yale, he finds the practitioner dead, just in the office. Not only that, but a manuscript for the long lost 6th book of the filler in for the series, which he just absolutely goes crazy over. Julia's not having it. She doesn't. She wants him to finally let go of those things.
Yes.
She was kind of mean. I'm like,
Seemed
dude,
like
let
it.
him have his thing. I understand,
Right?
like, you're trying to help him, but that was not a guiding
wasn't
friend
a
in
very
hand. That was
friendly
like
way.
kicking him out of the nest.
Well, I can see that. I mean, if
Yeah.
they're going to grad school, it's not like they're high schoolers and going into college. It's like he's probably been this way.
But he's getting into grad school, so it's not like he's
24,
doing
25.
poorly in life.
Sure.
Yeah, I think she's also probably just a little frustrated because he's
Sure.
like in the mental institution over the weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's like, I knew where you were.
Yeah, she
gonna
seems
check
to
in
just
for a
want to have him get back on like the track again, on the right
Yeah.
road, just
Right.
because he seems a little off and mentally unstable at times. But it really just seems like he's always had this intuition of wanting to do magic all
Yeah.
along, and that's why he hasn't
Sure.
fit in with anybody. And how interesting that he's kind of making new friends further down the line with people like Elliot when he's first greeted when he walks into Break Bills. And interesting that he sort of forms connections with other types as well. What do you guys think about the relationships as far as Penny goes? What about with Alice?
I mean, that's interesting because there are so many different kind of volatile personality types, and so it's interesting seeing how different types of personalities use magic, either to their benefit, whether it's for fun, or whether in the case of Alice it's to try to summon her brother, things like that. But we're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves, just a little bit. Once they stumble upon Break Bills, we find out they're taking a test to kind of bring out their inner magician, so to speak. Quentin passes, Julia not so much, and it seems like it's because Julia's kind of coming from this more methodical, kind of almost scientific approach, where Quentin seems more likely to just give himself over and to just kind of believe, as he does with filler and further.
Definitely.
He just kind of says yes and goes with it.
Not only that, after the exam, it seems like there's kind of a post-exam where the dean Henry is talking to Quentin, and they're trying to get some magic out of him, and he still
And that's
thinks,
like X-Men, if that's where you were going.
right, exactly,
Because
yeah.
stress brings on the
Exactly,
inner
yeah.
talents.
You have to feel
Right.
some
Yeah.
sort of way. It has to get a rush out of you or a reaction in order to ignite the spell. Do you think that's going to be an ongoing trait, or are they finally
No.
going to get a skill and
Just
then they
the
don't need to
beginning.
rely
I
on
don't
it?
know. It might
'cause-
be.
Well, he did magic almost immediately, second episode.
Yeah.
Right. But
With the
he's
cards.
He was
up until
with the
battle magic.
Yeah.
Battle magic.
No,
I
so I
mean-
think it's just the initial.
Yeah.
It's the spark.
Right,
in
right,
case
right.
you didn't get going.
Right,
I
and
see.
kind of the same thing that happens
Yeah.
with Julia in the bathroom on her birthday as well.
Yeah.
But
It's a stressful situation. So,
Right.
yeah.
But up until that point, the only magic that Quentin really had known was just kind of parlor tricks, things like that. It almost reminds me, have you guys seen Looper?
Yes.
It reminded me a
yes.
little Looper where, like, it's a world where telekinesis exists, but most people can only do, like, they can levitate a little coin at a party, and that's about it.
Yeah.
So it's interesting seeing how it manifests in different extents and different degrees.
Sure.
Definitely.
But it also, this scene leads to one of my favorite moments when Henry tells Quentin to stop dicking around and do some goddamn magic. So good.
Yes.
I liked how it was pseudo beeped. I felt icking around. I was like, I thought when I was watching it, they like kind of
When Penny
fudged it a
when
little
Penny
bit.
drops an F-bomb, we definitely hear some audio droppage.
Yeah. It's not a beep. It's just the audio dips, and you're like, wait
Exactly.
a minute.
It's a little bit.
I
it's a
know what
little
they
bit-
said.
Yeah.
America slowly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, because if you go to Europe, they're like, we don't give up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a little bit more subtle.
Beeping,
Yeah.
just-
So after
It's like, and you know what they're saying
just
anyway.
words.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So after this test, after Henry brings out, the stress in him, and he just levitates all these cards and makes this awesome little castle, passes out, starts dreaming of Fillory, dreaming of Jane Chatwin, things like that. And it seems like she's kind of trying to warn him a little, trying to keep him. Was it
I'm a little
off?
suspicious of her, though.
Oh, for
Little
sure.
bit. Yeah.
We're
It
on to
seems-
her.
Yeah.
You guys know who Jane Chapman really? You know who she is? Like, did you connect that?
What's that?
Jane
Go
Eliza.
ahead.
Eliza's Jane Chatwin.
Is she supposed to be
Interesting.
Jane Chatwin?
I got the feeling that she was Jane Chatwin. She alluded to something
There
that
was
Jane
some-
said
exactly,
to him
the
in a
garden
dream.
path, yeah.
And then when she was talking to, I'm jumping way forward, I'm sorry.
It's
When she was
okay.
talking to the dean at the end, he said, you need to be able to go back. And she said, I don't know how. She's like, you need to fight him again. So I assume that
him being the beast.
The beast and the beast lives in Fillory. So yeah.
Okay, so the girl who really did disappear has grown up and is that adult, and he's just seeing her younger self.
But the question is, I think pushing upon like the image of her younger self to like.
Okay, yeah, that was going to be my question. Is he like? Is she actively speaking to him, or is that a separate thing from her? That it's. I think like an echo.
I think it's actively something she's doing only because when she was actually face to face with him, she mentioned it again. She said, and it's a device
that he could associate with.
Yeah.
He knows the books.
That phrase, the garden path, keeps coming up because Margot says it at one point as well, but I think more accidentally in her case.
Yeah, with Eliza, it was like kind of like direct, and she looks just like Jane Chatwin. I'm like,
good job on casting for that one.
Exactly. So
good catch though. It's one of those you don't think about it and then you go, oh yeah.
Right. So obviously, as Quentin meets Elliot, he meets Margot. We meet kind of all these other people. We meet
I'm
Penny.
a little suspicious of them too.
Elliot and Margot?
Yes.
Do you think? Really?
I had a moment that I'm like, do they interact with anybody else besides them?
Right.
They seem
not
like
the
they
like
might be
dead people
friends.
thing, but like they don't really interact with anybody else. When they went to that party at the bar, they walked in, turned around, and went somewhere else, and that was weird. And they never talked to anybody else besides the main kids. And I feel that they're very guiding things. I don't know what the grander scheme of it is, but I was like, and not that they're bad, mistrust them, but there's something bigger behind them.
So they're befriending them for a reason.
Sure.
Okay, they've got ulterior motives, possibly.
Yes.
When they saw Julia and they immediately turned and walked away, I was like, oh, there must be something. There might be something to them, like not really existing, or maybe like that.
That was what I kind of was thinking a little bit, because Elliot dresses very particularly, and like all the staff dress old fashioned, and so does he. Margot doesn't, but he does.
It's a bit of a dandy.
I felt more like they were turning away because they felt something was wrong with Julia. Like
possibly.
She was bad.
They could kind of pick up.
They could pick up on it, and they were like, oh no.
Right.
Yeah.
But she's still part of the main little group.
Julia.
Not Julia.
Julia.
Penny.
The blood magic chick.
Penny and
Katie.
Yeah, but see, that's the part where they didn't talk to anybody.
No, with Julia. Yeah. So but I was thinking more so they just felt that
they can sense the bad magic.
I see.
Well, only time will tell who they really are.
We'll see. Yeah. As Quentin meets all these people, we get to meet Alice as well, and Alice is kind of, she's sort of the bookwormy type. There are rumors that she comes from a family full of magicians, and she shows incredible aptitude by making this little.
That was so cool.
A horse
cute.
that gallops off the table.
That was adorable.
It was too cute.
But she's obviously even less socially inclined than Quentin is. Very kind of. I think
outcasted.
Sure. She seems to be kind of this pariah, but I think it's also because she's more in tune with what people's real motivations are. I think she can pick up.
Sure.
She can pick up on the fact that Elliot and Margot are a little bit socially manipulative, and so she doesn't want any part of that.
Because she left that one scene with Margot. She's like, I don't think you actually really want to be my friend.
Right.
That was my
Right, exactly.
Yes.
And she's all about finding out whatever was in that book. She wanted to know what that symbol meant. And as soon as Quentin became involved with the symbol on his hand as well, that kind of mentioned to them to contact the other side.
Right.
Their friendship just kind of formed automatically. But it also made me feel like those two came together, obviously, for a purpose. And I don't really know right now, but I do have a feeling in the future it will be romantic.
Interesting. Okay.
Are you guys still on the same vibe? You catching that vibe?
Between
Quentin and Alice.
Yeah, for sure. I could definitely see that. Yeah.
In the future, not right now. I think it's going to develop.
I could see that.
Maybe.
I think Quentin's got to get a little confidence.
Yes.
I mean, that obviously,
Open up with anyone.
That'll come before, but after, jumping back into kind of the real world, after Julia, fails her exam, she kind of becomes obsessed with it. She goes crazy. She, she cuts herself so that she can remember. She's constantly online. James calls Quentin panicking because she's not even eating. She's a shell of her former self. You know, she's
obsessed.
She's obsessed with, I think, not only the idea of just failing anything, but the fact that there is this latent ability that she could potentially awaken, you know?
Absolutely. She wants to be in tune with that side of herself, and I think all these years she thought she wanted a normal, you know, Ivy League education, and then all of a sudden it's like, how does that matter in a world of magic where you can pretty much do anything that you want?
Sure.
But then again, they also mention in there that magic doesn't solve everything. So that was an interesting conundrum that they addressed early on.
That was such a strong line, and such, I think, something that's obviously going to become a running theme throughout the show, is that, you know, like, obviously with things like this, and, you know, like, if you guys have seen like Chronicle and things like that, when young people get powers, it's, you know, they think that it's just this cure-all, that is what'll unlock anything.
And they've definitely set up the light magic and the dark magic.
Exactly. And that was another thing. That was another thing that kind of struck, you know, like an X-Men sort of chord with me. Is, you know, if Breakbills is, you know, Professor Xavier's gifted school for youngsters, then whatever back alley meatpacking plant that Julia goes to, is where Magneto kind of,
or like Jedi school versus,
Jedi versus Sith.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Totally.
Just yin and yang, guys.
It's common.
Light and dark, all that fun. Joseph Campbell, hero's journey.
Yeah,
I mean, we're all the same stories.
Dumbledore.
Exactly.
Just growing up. Who goes bad? Who stays good?
Exactly. Yeah. So, but it's at the height of this obsession that it's Julia's birthday, poor girl, and Quentin finds her at her birthday party, and he kind of keeps it 100 with her. He goes, you know what? Maybe you don't have potential. You know, just because you could do.
She is totally on her high horse, though.
Right.
Like, I am so smart, and like,
now that
she does seem like somebody
that
you're not perfect at everything. So that I was like, well, you were mean to him earlier. It's fair that he's like, well, you're not
this
perfect.
is my niche now. Yeah, like
there is kind of also just like from what I've kind of been able to understand from the books is that Quentin isn't really the nicest guy. Like as we get to know him more, we might see like that he is kind of like the guy that is kind of like, well, maybe you're just not that great.
Sure. He's very
his filter barrier is low.
Exactly.
He's like, I'm just gonna say
he seems very kind of impulsive, and so like, he says and as we see in episode 2, does things without really thinking about them.
On that note, I read on a gossip blog, a fan wrote, Quentin appears to be as much of a douche as he is in the books. So I thought, okay, then I kind of connected that with the first show and how I perceived him.
Speaking of douches, it's at this birthday. Do you like that segue?
I did.
It's at this birthday party that Julie is attacked with magic in the bathroom, and it seems like, I'm like, oh man,
it was weirdly sexy.
This is getting him.
Just saying. I was like, that's really interesting.
I wasn't going to say it, but
you're
like,
went there. Well, since you mentioned
it. Reminded me a lot of Hollow Man. Have you?
Yeah, no, totally.
Absolutely.
But yeah, like that.
But
I meant like if you like the person.
Right, exactly. Let's put that caveat on there.
Yeah.
Safe, consensual.
Anyways.
But luckily we find out that it's all a test. He, who we find out is Pete, tells her.
But we just need to get her in her bra.
Exactly. Right. That was the important part. Pete lets her know that Breakbills isn't the only place that can track the gift, as he calls it, and he says that they've been watching her for some time. This sort of dark side, but what I guess suppose could be the light side, depending on your perspective.
This is true. We don't necessarily know they're bad yet.
Right. We could find some things out about Henry down the road.
It's all in the gray anyway.
Exactly. I'd say they're gray. They haven't done anything malicious, so. Sort of.
They got that chick from Hannibal. She's just bad news. Bad news, Marina.
So after all this, Quentin has another dream about Jane Chatwin, just dreaming all over the place, and he and she's kind of chastising him because he hasn't listened. He keeps diving deeper down into this rabbit hole, so to speak. And I think, this is the one where she, this sigil appears on the stone, and she forces him to put his hand against it, and he wakes up, and sure enough, it's burnt into the palm of his hand. I mean, there's a lot of dreams crossing into reality crossing into dreams. What is reality? Things like that.
Well, it's a cool other way to show how that magic works in this world. That it's not necessarily just spells.
Right.
And actually, I was going to say that real quick too. I love. What do you guys think of? I like the hand gestures as like
Yeah.
spell
Very
casting.
cool.
I super
Yeah.
dig
It's
that.
like that's a really fun way to do it.
If,
like
if Harry Potter
yeah.
spells are kind of verbal incantations, this has its own little twist with
Yeah.
the...
Yeah.
Or with the little magic wand they had
Right,
to use
exactly.
on
yeah, they don't have a
Exactly.
thing to channel it.
But
It's
this,
gestures.
you gotta
Yeah,
make
I
these
saw that
really
little
specific
battle.
gestures.
It's cool.
Absolutely.
It's a new creative visual twist because
Right.
it's visually
Definitely is.
interesting.
Right,
But it's also based in real stuff because I mean that's dance stuff as well. Like,
Oh, sure.
Oh, I'm totally blanking on
You're
what that's
talking
called.
about the raving, the guys that were raving in the big front. They were doing the.
Well, no, there's other stuff too where it's like I don't know what it's called, but I don't know. But they do dance
I know what
things
you
where
mean.
it is
Are you
like
talking about tutting? Is that what it's
maybe
called?
yeah,
I only
something
know
like
'cause
that.
of the Taylor
Sounds
Swift
cool.
Shake It
But
Off,
either
Shake It Off
way,
video.
I could care less about the other
Either way, it's
Just put it out
interesting
there.
that it's
That's fair.
they've made it a very visual thing instead of just like blah 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 words incantations.
Right,
right.
Just that, you know.
Yeah.
At least there's variety of different ways to do it.
Sure. So after that symbol pops up, he sees Alice in the library, and that symbol is also in the book that she's reading. So there's some sort of connection there. They have that similarity. She sees that she can kind of use him. Basically, it seemed like she didn't really want anything to do with them before. Now she sees that kind of common bond, that sigil, and so now she wants his help. And she says, if you want to be involved, be involved. So she has to steal a book from the dean to contact the other side to kind of have a little bit of a
that's what
seance.
you do.
I mean,
And I like
why
how
not?
she says that she wants to contact her dead brother Charlie originally. And when the four of them get together with Penny and Katie and Alice and Quentin, that finally they end up contacting the Beast, which is strange to me because it doesn't seem like the seance works originally. They kind of go home like, all right,
Well,
we
like
messed
any
up.
seance, it never works the way you want it
You're
to.
right. And then
Never
You
later,
does.
open the door
Never does.
wide.
it's true. Ouija board over there.
Exactly.
But I like the mystery of what her brother is. What happened to her brother?
Exactly. Will he come back and help later?
Right.
Charlie's going to have something
probably
to do with it.
Just evil and
I was gonna say, has
I don't think
has
he's
Charlie
dead. He's
already
probably
come
just
back?
bad.
Yeah.
Good
Has
point.
Charlie already come back?
As the
Good
beast?
point.
I
Yeah.
don't think he's the beast.
No.
I think he's the Beast.
That's my. We'll get to predictions later. That's what I'm going with. Basically, to wrap up episode 1, they summon the Beast, and it is bad
Whoops.
news. It's bad
Woo,
news.
yes, it is.
Saw a picture of the beast. Hot. Just saying.
Yeah?
Just saw
The actual
Okay.
actor?
of the actor. I was like,
There's a little bit too many
can't
moths in the
wait.
way right
Yeah,
now.
I can't really
Love
see
it.
in there.
That was a cool effect.
It
that
was
was visually
awesome.
very interesting because it's very disturbing not to have like
It's
a
super
real face there.
unsettling, yeah.
You're like, ugh.
well, that whole the end of episode 1 with that fight was a lot more disturbing than what came after.
That
but
was
When
Yeah.
he reached into the dean and like plucked
Yeah.
out his
That was
eyes,
nice.
Did you guys-
and
And
his
with
smiling
almost kind of like
face.
the marionette sort of
Yeah.
symbolism.
Yes.
Like that was.
Do you guys notice that Quentin's coin moved like he was able? I felt like was that like he
wondering
could break
about
the
that.
spell of it in a way?
Yeah,
He just hasn't honed into it. I feel
Yeah.
like that was the
Right.
only thing that
He's-
was preventing him.
to having his
Yeah.
Harry Potter moment. right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we get
like-
that foursome of Quentin, Alice, Penny, and Katie, and they inadvertently summon the Beast. The Beast stops time, kills the professor, plucks the dean's eyeballs right out of his head, and it seems like his calling card is the little smiley face.
Because he
in the
doesn't
mirror.
really have a face.
Ooh.
I was really happy that he killed the professor because he was really annoying me. Just like, just going on
Speaking
a
his
tangent
German?
in German. I was like, dude, if I were in that class, I would like kill you because I'm here to learn some magic.
You know?
And you're just
That was
like,
a pretty boring class.
Yeah,
I was
I
like,
know.
what is he? Yeah, I don't think
Get
the
to the
kids.
point.
Right.
Actually, the beginning I did think was interesting though when he was talking about the metals and that changing.
That
I'm
was
like, I feel
interesting.
this is a exposition thing
That
that's
was
going to
great.
happen
Right.
later.
Good point.
Hope you guys
And-
were listening in class.
So let's hop into episode 2, the source of magic. We're dealing with the aftermath of the Beast just wreaking havoc all over the classroom. Quentin wakes up. They're asking him to describe the Beast, asking why the Beast knew Quentin's name.
Yeah.
Obviously a lot of unanswered questions.
And flashback storytelling was
Exactly.
a fun way to do it as
Exactly.
well. Like the
I
you know,
didn't like it very much.
No.
Oh no.
Just because I felt like it kind of diluted the fight.
Mm.
It was. I think
see.
that would have been a really great way to show off
Oh.
how these 4 people manifest their powers. Because I was kind of writing down as we were going through. I was like psychic, telekinetic,
Sure.
telekinetic. But I think to see them like kind of for you to kind of touch upon like what they can do
Right.
would have been fascinating to watch. And
Sure.
it was just kind of like how they set it up. I was like,
But when you go, it's kind of Quentin's perspective that, you know, he wasn't fully aware of what happened. Then after, it's like remembering, like, oh, wait, that really happened.
Yeah. Right.
I feel that'd be the only decent justification. They go, okay, well, we're watching it from his recollection of it.
Yeah.
But I do agree, an all-out battle would have been fun. But that's going to be later.
Yeah. And
that's
so
coming.
While all this aftermath is happening over in Quentin's neck of the woods, over in Julia's world, she's kind of dealing with this sort of initiation test. Basically, she's in a meatpacking plant in New York, which is, I mean, sure, why not? Why not make that the base of your operations?
Sure.
Yeah.
But Pete locks her and this brand new girl named Marina in a freezer in a walk-in like meat locker basically, and says, "All right, good luck. Don't freeze to death."
Yeah.
And just kind of checks the deuces.
Be resourceful, you know. He definitely wanted her to figure out what exactly she had to do, and giving her the dead guy coming back to life was an incentive to get moving, start utilizing your powers. And then the fact that Pete can, you know, change his form and become this dead guy and kind of tell her, have you tried everything?
Right,
You sure? I didn't think he changed his form. I think he just spoke through him.
He kind of possessed
nonetheless.
him.
Yeah,
like
the eyes, like
Okay,
channel.
you're right. She probably didn't transform, but
No,
nonetheless,
you're standing outside,
used
like,
him
looking
as a vessel.
through. Yeah.
Okay,
and so yeah, but we do get a taste of how kind of resourceful, you know, Julie is, how she acts under pressure.
Right.
You know, we've seen kind of how Quentin acts under pressure. Now we see that Julia, once again, kind of the more methodical thinker, the more maybe scientific thinker. I mean, obviously, do we think those skills are going to come into play?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I think with Julia, I think the fact that she's kind of going down like this place that allows for a lack of control, and Quentin's going down a place that needs control. We're going to see like kind of like a flip when they come back to each other.
Definitely.
Very good point.
So,
I agree.
Right.
It's like you need that happy
interesting to see.
medium.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so on that side of things, you know, whipping through, because we're, you know, spent a good chunk of time on episode 1, but that's because it's full of exposition and all that lovely stuff, you know. Basically, we find out that Marina is not quite as new as we might have thought.
Ooh, she's Banff.
Yeah, she is Banff, absolutely.
What is that?
Bad.
Badass mother.
Bad.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't speak in
it's also
abbreviations.
it's
like,
also the noise that Nightcrawler makes.
That's
when
probably
he
about one of the
teleports.
few I use. Just saying.
No, I'm not. It's not judgment.
Just embrace the waves, man. But and so we find out that, you know, you kind of, in this side of magic, you earn these tattoos that sort of show your rank and your experience. And
Are they
Marina's
in
like a level
increments of
50.
10? Because
They might
she was
be,
50 by here, and I'm like, I don't think there's 50 stars, but like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
I think you're right. Yeah,
Probably
I think
increments
so.
of 10.
And Julia got her first star
She got her
this
first
episode.
tattoo, yeah.
So
by learning that she had to kind of harvest that fat from the body that was in the meat locker with them.
yeah.
I mean, it got a little bit graphic.
We didn't
It's pretty
really
cool.
see her carve it out, though.
No, but we definitely heard it though.
Yeah.
The sound effects were on point.
It's still like
That full
He was a
artist.
pretty muscly man. I think
Sci-fi.
you'd have to go to certain spots to really
Sci-fi
get
scary.
fatty section. Like, they went to his, like, buff abs. I'm like, where are you getting the fat out of there?
So that's kind of what's happening over in Julie's neck of the woods. Over on Quentin's side of things, we find out about this thing called battle magic. We find out that during the Beast's whole, you know, just wrecking shop, we saw Katie throw what was battle magic, which almost seems like kind of like a less lethal version of, like, I don't know, like Avada Kedavra in the Harry Potter verse.
Definitely.
You know, things like that. It's just that straight up hostile
Energy kind of push.
F
Yeah.
you magic. Yeah, that's
that
basically
thing that you're not supposed to know.
exactly. Everyone's it's
But
super.
everyone knows
Everyone
it.
knows it.
Yeah, I like
Everyone knows
that
how
Quinn's
to do it.
totally like, I don't even know what battle magic is, and nobody's like, here, let me explain it to you, because I think if you had a student
You
on
might
campus
need
that
to
does
know.
this, they should break it down. Like, wow.
I think he just, well, they did, Eliza did comment on, like, how he has to pick up things a lot faster, and that was
Yeah.
kind of a hint of that, of him
Oh, yeah,
being able
no,
to pick
I
up
thought it
as
was
quickly.
interesting, because didn't they say, like, it seems like people are specific magic, but he seems to do multiple types.
Right.
More than physical magic. I
Yeah.
noticed that too. They're definitely
He's
going to
the
have
Avatar.
Yes. They're definitely going to have, though, both like the good and bad side of magic. I mean, if you
Yeah.
put any type of students in any academic program, you're going to have the good apples and the bad apples,
Of
and
course.
clearly some are going to utilize their battle magic. And I
Right.
think that's going to come into play later, just because you need to know these type of things, especially dealing with an entity like the Beast, who
Sure.
clearly has powers beyond anybody in that room and
Right.
could take out the dean who was
so-
supposed to be in this.
Exactly, yeah. And so we get a lot of scenes between Quentin and Alice, and one of my favorite things is that he's insisting that the world of Fillory is real. And
Yes.
Alice is like, hang on, that's a leap. And
Yeah.
I'm like, for real?
Yeah, you're working with magic.
Marina does say that, and it's like so just glossed over. But when we're first introduced to Marina, she is looking at, like, I think the Lost number 6 book.
Oh, sure.
And she goes, "Oh, so these books are real? Can you believe it?"
Yeah.
So he's right. But,
Right. Oh, and that's I
yeah.
love that Alice is so taken aback. Like, in this world where the Beast just came in and stopped time and plucked this guy's eyeballs out of his
Yeah.
head. Like, this book possibly being based in reality, that's the leap.
Yeah.
But we get a lot of that. You know, they go to the library. We get a little cameo from the book's author, Lev Grossman.
He calls himself Dev.
Dev.
Very good one there.
Dev Fleischman.
Yeah.
I mean, just like really subtle work there. But he's convinced that, you know, that the Chatwins were, you know, well, the Chatwins were based on real people that actually disappeared. So he thinks there could be something more to these Fillory books. Not only that, Alice is desperate to hide the evidence because that summoning that they did, big no-no.
Yeah. Well, that was the part that I was like, oh, that's a Peter Pan reference of the children, the author who would go and visit the children and write the story, because that's how Peter Pan was written. He would play with the children. That sounds really bad.
No, we
but,
get it.
You know,
We
that's
get
what
it.
We're gonna have an
You guys
innocent
know.
mind.
It's
No,
fine.
yes.
Yeah. But so I was like, oh, that's kind of touching on that. I wonder
Sure.
if they're gonna kind of toy
Come
with
back
that
to
whole
it.
idea
Right.
of Peter Pan.
We also find out a little bit more about Penny, that kind of throughout his whole life he's heard these sort of chaotic voices, but only one was really clear and was the one that kind of led him to sort of growing his magic skills. But that also dupes him into being in the study hall when the Beast attacks.
I think
Right.
because it was the Beast that was speaking
Right.
to him.
Who
Right,
tricked
right,
him,
right.
that was mentioned.
Got tricked.
Interesting.
Can't
Got
get
played
Okay,
over
move
there.
on.
You
It
can't
sucks how you got there, but you know what? At least you know what you know.
At least you got there.
Exactly.
So yeah, a lot of stuff to.
I was gonna say, I'm like, we don't got a whole lot of time.
I was gonna say, let's see what else is
Well,
there.
there's
Yes.
the whole finding out that Katie's in cahoots with
She's in
Marina.
cahoots with
Yeah.
Marina.
Yeah.
And why? Because it does seem like she's under some sort of
Yeah, they got
obligation.
something
Right.
honor.
And so Penny is kind of getting fed up with everything. He wants to leave Breakbills. You know, it seems like she's trying to get him to stick around at least just for one last stupid stunt. Starts kind of rummaging around in drawers, pulls out this amulet that we find out has these protective qualities, so that when Quentin goes and confronts Penny about ratting him out for being kind of the ringleader of the whole summoning circle, they get into this huge fight. Quentin out of nowhere just
Not really a huge fight.
I mean, it wasn't much of a fight.
It's a couple hits and
some
energy.
Throw some battle magic
Yeah.
out. It gets reflected right back onto him.
Yeah.
And off he goes.
I know it showed how
In the
strong
next
it was,
Tuesday.
though, because remember
Yeah.
when it happened in the classroom, it was like it barely knocked the Beast back, but this
Right.
he's like flying.
Blue.
So
I wonder if that's not necessarily the battle magic as much as it is just the protective magic kind of.
that
like,
too.
giving
Yeah, I
Sure.
was wondering.
Sure.
Maybe.
Well, because
But
is
yeah.
he really that strong, or he has no control, so he did put too much channeling into it, so
Maybe.
it wasn't
Right.
as guided.
So as all this is happening, we find out that kind of as sort of punishment for being the ringleader of this whole summoning thing, that Quentin's gonna get wiped. He's about to get wiped, just like Julia did. And I don't think he knows. Like, he calls her kind of frantically apologizing, asking her to help him remember that magic is real, and it's almost kind of heartbreaking, because it seems like if he does get wiped, it'll go back to just seeing everything in black and white, you know, and just going back to just like
simple life.
just like passionately defending like magic at parties to girls in unicorn shirts.
Shorts.
Definitely.
Shorts.
But you know, we've got some tension between him and between him and Penny.
Yes.
We've got this impending wiping happening.
Well, he just assumes that, but
This is true.
and that's the thing. We don't know.
confirmed
We don't know
that he
what
was
Penny
expelled.
said.
Yeah.
We don't know
Yeah.
what Penny said.
He's like admitting guilt before he's been accused.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So calm down. Don't
And
say
they need
anything.
him. They mentioned that they need these two magicians, you know,
Right.
at the end. So
Exactly.
But he doesn't know that.
He has
Exactly.
no idea.
He's
So he goes to you know, the person that's about to wipe him, and it's Eliza, who was also the paramedic that left him that manuscript of Fillory and Further in
the
episode
6,
1. And she kind of she breaks it down that she's also dreamt of of Fillory, and he's just trying to, to get some answers. She knows that he took that amulet from Penny. He went and jacked it from Penny while he was sleeping, and intending to kind of protect himself against that wiping. And she knows he's not that great of a liar.
Yeah,
but then she's happy with him because she's like, good.
Right.
What we need.
Yeah. So she says she's going to give him one more chance. The school board will take her word for it, and and we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
So then we close out episode 2. We see Julia getting her very first tattoo. Her kind of first initiation into this kind of society of dark arts or whatever it is.
Making stupid choices.
Exactly. And then we see Eliza visiting the dean, who I thought he was Dunzo. I thought he was gone after the beast.
Well, only because I realized he wasn't dead, only because he pulled out the little watch thing. But
was that after? Okay,
yeah. That was after he was like...
Got it.
I don't think I noticed it was after either.
Got it.
Because he was like, Quentin, take this, and Quentin's like able to summon it.
So he's... So poor Henry has been relieved of 2 eyeballs. He's laid up in a hospital bed. He doesn't have eyes.
Through it.
His hands are wrecked. I mean, like it's gotta be a tough road to hoe. But they gotta bring that potential out of Penny, out of Quentin, out of ostensibly Alice and Elliot, Margot, and everyone else in this magic universe to fight this beast. So.
It's definitely interesting.
Man, episodes 1 and 2 in the books. Can we get to some predictions?
Yeah.
Let's do some predictions. I love doing that.
And now, your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
You're so excited. You should go first. You're like...
I just love delighting. I think my prediction, I'm going to go out on a limb. People who read the books probably will correct me right off the bat.
Don't correct. I don't want to know. Please don't
Exactly.
spoil.
Yeah.
Don't spoil
Don't
on
correct
YouTube.
it. Don't correct it. We just know the show.
And they could change it too, so.
I think that Charlie, if he's not the beast, he's at least a malevolent spirit.
Okay.
I think Alice is gonna get her wish of contacting Charlie, and it's not gonna be good news. What y'all think?
Sure. I'm sorry, moving down the line. I'm sorry. Yes, I'm sorry. I think something's up with Elliot and Margot. I don't know how big and how grandiose that is, but I feel something is up with them.
Interesting. So I'm assuming that Elliot and Alice are going to form some type of alliance, which will help them kind of stay in tune with whatever they need to do to get this beast. And I'm also feeling like they're going to go out of their way to get the book 6 back, because there's some answers missing and they might be hunting them down real soon here.
I think it might be something along the lines of the people in the Julia circle, the bad magic,
like
bad
Marina
people,
and Pete and all that,
are trying to find a way into Break Bills because there's something they need from Break Bills. Because just even with how, I mean, I don't know if Margot's a part of it, but how Margot was kind of like quizzing Alice about how would you get in, how did you know how to get here without being summoned here. So I think there is
that was very suspicious,
like this desire to get into Break Bills as a resource, and that's also why the beast had to be summoned into it. He can't just go on his own accord.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think that's kind of going to be like the big struggle for the next few episodes or season.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of good stuff.
Woo.
We saw 2 amazing episodes, managed to get through it in 1 episode of AfterBuzz.
Yeah.
But guys, it's about that time. Tell everyone at home listening where they can find you.
Yes, you can find me at Kari D. Lane on Twitter and Instagram, and Facebook at Kari Lane Actor.
And you can find me, Samantha Benitz, on Twitter and Instagram at Samantha_Benitz.
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Miss Adrian Snow.
And you can find me on Twitter, on Instagram, at Ty Matthews PMA, as well as various other after shows, Monday Night Raw, Pitch Slap, Second Chance, and Lucha Underground, starting this Thursday. Woo! Guys, remember, go to iTunes, download, subscribe, rate, review, all that stuff. But until next week, peace!
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.